Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
It's the attention to detail, obviously. We look at it as coaches too, start with me, but then pretty soon we start looking at who's doing it. We start evaluating who's making plays and who's not. And it just is what it is. It's our league.
Oh, boy. Sean Payton, after the Saints lose to the Titans, in no uncertain terms, telling you changes, they are a-coming. And there's a couple of players where it's very obvious. It's obvious who the guys are that are likely to hear their name called, that are clumped in that group. Sunday's game had some fantastic performances. Lost amid the loss, oftentimes, what's overshadowed are the really nice performances. How about Marcus Davenport? 2 sacks, one just like Taylor Lewan got bull rushed by Marcus Davenport, got owned in that game. You're starting to see a guy realize all of the physical potential that he has when he can stay healthy. And that should give you so much reason for optimism if he can stay healthy. Deontay Harris yesterday. I know Deontay Harris had the fumble, and that was a brutal mistake, a mistake that cost the Saints a touchdown. But as a receiver, Deontay Harris is building. Last year in the playoff game against the Bears, he caught every one of his targets in that game, and you started to think, man, maybe Deontay Harris actually is more than just a one-trick pony as a return specialist. Maybe he can be a good NFL receiver. And not only has he been good, he had 84 receiving yards yesterday. Caught 3 of his 4 targets. He led the Saints in receiving. He's a really good receiver. I think Marquez Callaway can be a really good NFL receiver. I just don't think these guys are number 1 NFL receivers. That's the problem right now until you get Michael Thomas back. But you've had some guys play really good football. Mark Ingram's a guy that yesterday against Tennessee had a really nice game. He had 108 yards from scrimmage. He had 47 rushing yards and 61 receiving yards. I mean, Mark Ingram has developed into a really nice contributor for this offense. There are guys that have played really well. There are guys that have not, and that's obvious. And you have to start with Brian Johnson, the place kicker. Sean Payton has always, in his time in New Orleans, had a very short leash on kickers. You cannot miss 2 PATs in a game where you lose by 2 and keep your job. If you've been a consistent kicker, and that's an outlier, that's a one-off, that's one thing. When you're Brian Johnson and you're an undrafted rookie free agent and you're trying to earn a spot in this league and then you go miss 2 PATs in a game on the road like that, Sean Payton just doesn't have a long leash on kickers. He never has. So with Will Lutz done for the year, that's devastating. It only further solidifies his job security when he's back next year. But you have got to work out kickers this week and go sign somebody else because you can't trust that guy. And guess what? You can say, well, it was the wind in an outdoor stadium. You know where you're playing next week? In Philly, in late November. What's that weather going to be like? It's not going to be good. It's not going to be dome conditions. So you better get someone who you feel can handle that in that situation. The other one, and I hate to say it, is Adam Trautman. And Trautman is a guy that has been, he's come on the show, and I loved the concept in drafting Adam Trautman. You thought you were drafting the next Jimmy Graham, not a basketball player converted, but a guy who he came from a small school in Dayton. You loved the skill set. He was your pass-catching tight end. You figured, give him an opportunity to grow and develop into that role, and it just hasn't happened this year. This was supposed to be the year where they let go of Jared Cook, that Trautman you saw last year where his reps, his snap count increased in the last month of the season last year. They were priming him for this role, and it just hasn't worked. Now, my contention, my hope, my fingers crossed hope, is that what Trautman needs is Nick Vannett. He needs the Josh Hill tight end in this offense because Troutman's not going to be your all-around tight end that can run block, that can pass protect, that can go catch passes. He's not that. Could he be a good pass catcher if you have the pass blocking tight end or the run blocking tight end? Maybe, but I want to see it. And it sucks that you've invested a 3rd-round pick in this guy because you do have a high amount of equity invested in him already in way of draft capital and snaps this year. But there's just been too many drop passes. There's too many missed blocks. There's too many penalties that are costing you games. In the NFL, the talent across the board with all of these teams is so similar. The margin is so thin. You have to be well coached and you have to execute a game plan. And when you're committing a false start penalty on a 2-point conversion to attempt to tie the game, and now your 2-point attempt to tie is at the 7 instead of the 2, you just can't do it in the NFL. It's not one of those things where you got to improve. No, like, you're a professional. You can never mess that up. And he's done it too much. So, a couple of guys who can't feel good about where their lot is right now with this team. And look, Cesar Ruiz was brutal yesterday as well, but that offensive line gave up 4 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, 4 tackles for loss. They've got to be better. And until Teron Armstead is back, and obviously you're without Andrews Pete as well, but these are guys that you expect to play at a higher level. And they just didn't yesterday, and that's unfortunate. And Sean Payton's in a constant evaluation mode, and the old adage is, you're never staying the same. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. The Saints right now with some of those guys are not getting better, so you have to say they're getting worse. We'll see what the plan may be this week once the Saints get into game week preparation, if any of those guys, if players are worked out this week and if changes do come before the Saints head to Philly on Sunday. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.